Hello, 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 and welcome back to the PAFA Wire Wrapping Channel. Today, we're going to try to make a snake. So this is what we're going to be using here. It is a beautiful Labradorite. It's about, maybe not quite 3.5 centimeters long by about 2.5 wide, so to speak. It's actually pretty thin, but I'm going to be using 3 20-gauge wires on this. And you can use anything around that size, any type of stone, but that's what I'm going to be using. I've cut 3 pieces of about 14 inches of 20-gauge raw copper, dead soft, because I want to have a little bit extra to create the snake once we get the bail done and all that. And if I need less wire than what I'm telling you I have here, I will put that in the description. I think I've also cut somewhere about 3 inches of half round for the connections and about 14.5 inches for the bail of 22 gauge half round dead soft. Okay, and the tools we'll be using today will be, of course, a flush cutter, my tweezer nose pliers, and some wire straighteners in case we need them, and I think a pair of flat nose probably, and I might need these round nose pliers as well. All right, so let's get started. Because if you're doing a snake, you're probably a little bit more advanced than a beginner, so I'll probably fast forward through this wrapping of the 3 wires. Okay, so I've done about 10 wraps. Gonna squish them together, cut in the back here, right in the center, and push that down. Oh, a little bit too long. Push that down. Actually, you gotta straighten those out and push it down. And then, I don't know if you could see that, but just checking to make sure that I'm at 7 inches because these wires are 14 inches long. So I'm gonna go ahead and press this down, making sure the wires are all lined up and all that good stuff. Then I'm gonna make a V to put that shape of the stone into. That looks like it will probably fit well. Okay, and then bring that over and bring the other one over. And I'm gonna check this on my board to just make sure we're all nice and straight with a little bit of Loctite putty there to stick my piece on. And if I'm left-handed, if you're right-handed, you probably want to do things a little bit differently from a different angle. So I don't need a whole lot of space, but I do want to have some space above the top of the stone here. I'm just making sure that's all still straight and pressed against it as best it can be. And I like to turn it around when I do the other side. That's just me, because it's easier. Just trying to make sure nobody is twisting. So we're gonna go over to try to meet these guys. Probably want to bend it right around there. Just desperately want to bend and crisscross over each other. They just like each other too much. And that happens when you don't quite bend them all the same rate. That doesn't make sense, the same rate. The same exact length and the same bend. If you bend at an angle, which I think I did, that can screw things up a bit. I don't know if you can see it, but this wire is really a bit bent. Actually, both sides are a little bit out of whack here. Try and get these together. I think I should probably do a sharper bend right about there. And then try to get them all together. It's always harder when you've got the half round. I mean, not the half round, the round, because the round doesn't like to stay together quite as well as the square does. I try really hard to get this lined up. That's my hardest thing, is always getting things lined up. I don't know about you guys. My cats will line up for their food, but that's about it. I can't really get anything else lined up. All right, where's that long piece of half round? Let me just cover this board up again. And I'm going to take my long piece of half round and do what I always do, which is I try to sneak Whoops, that's the wrong side. Try to sneak about an inch or so underneath there, and then I wrap it a few times toward the base there. And however's left over, I bring up here to make sure it stays secure. Make sure these guys are not, look at this, they are trying so hard not to be lined up properly. So I have to undo this. So that's what you always have to check. Excuse the cat hair on my board here. Is making sure that when you try to wrap these wires together, that they don't do what they're doing right here, which is twisting. And I always have to keep an eye on that because round wires don't like me. So the other side is good. Now we can go back and redo that. So that's the biggest thing I found when I have tried to wrap. I make a huge mistake like that in the very beginning, and then I finish my my bail, and then I'm like, why are these wires not lining up? It's because they didn't line up in the beginning, and I screwed up. I'm going to cut this off here, right here, because I don't want to get poked with it. So I'm going to take the front 2 wires, assuming I can find them, and then I'm going to take the second 2 wires, bend everybody over and down, and then this will be the bail. As you hopefully know, you just try to wrap that bail, not let your half round get wonky. Wonky is my good word. And then every so often, you have to go back and straighten these back out. Okay. So I'll probably speed through this too, because again, if you're doing a snake, you're probably not a beginner. I'll be back. Okay, that was long and tedious, so I cut most of that out. And I've got about 1.25 inches, and I'm going to cut that off in behind. I just stuck this in there to make sure, and it still fits well. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. I'm going to cut this off in the back and be finished with this bail. And don't forget to always hold on to your wires, which I'm not doing because I know they're not going to go anywhere, but they can go flying into your drink and all that other kind of stuff. So that's your public service announcement. All right, now that I've got the bail done, I'm going to go back to the back, and I want to make sure we get the stone put in here. So we're going to go back to this, separated that, and just kind of press that in. Whoops, and hopefully without scratching the wire like I'm sure I just did, because occasionally tools will slip, which is never good, but okay, got that out like that. Kind of straighten it up. Get my stone. Hopefully that'll snap right in there. Yes, I love that little sound. Okay, now we get to the front. Go down there close to the edge. Make sure, too, before you do that, that your stone is sitting in there well. Go ahead and do the front. Okay. Okay, I guess that's good. Now that you've done that, just go back, check, make sure you're nice and straight in every regard here. I like to make sure these guys are straight, push down, and then yes, nice and lined up. All right, I'm gonna cover this back up again. Move these little bits out of the way, and we're gonna go bend forward. Trying to figure out if I did anything with these wires. I don't think so, so I'm probably gonna snip them off. I did this one time before, and I just used the 4 wires on the sides for the snake, so I don't think I needed anything left from that. Get my bail making pliers just because I'm lazy today. We've had a lot of rain where I live, and that's making me very lazy. Makes me want to go to sleep. Okay, gonna do that and that, and I think I'll cut this right one. And make sure when you do this that your wires stay straight as they go through, and that your bail's kind of pushed up out of your way. Mine tends to want to get in the way, and that's not quite straight under there. I don't know if you can see that. I have to straighten it. I'm gonna take this. kind of feel like I'm in a hurry today because I haven't done one of these videos for a while and I want to get it done. So when I did this, I pushed it through and the bail, there we go, nice and strong. Okay, the bail just decided to get, because keeping your bail straight when you go to put these wires in the back. So cut off about like that, and then take your tweezer nose pliers and try to keep your bail doing what you want it to do instead of what it wants to do. Push that under, press it down. And this one, we can just snip that off right there and get it out of the way so we don't have to connect both of these, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to get my weaving wire. I'm using 26 gauge round copper for weaving. And I don't know how much, probably I'd say a few, 2 or 3 feet. So you want to probably use it from the bail. I mean, not the bail. I can't speak anymore. From the bobbin or the spool. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what? I think I'm going to do the other side because I think that's maybe what works best for this design. And if it doesn't, we'll figure something out. Sometimes I fly by the seat of my pants. Oftentimes. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make something that I hope you will enjoy. So I'm going to do a 2-2 weave, 2 wraps around, and I like to leave a little bit of an extra tail, I guess you would call it. An extra tail so that I can kind of wrap that around something so it will keep that wire from moving when I'm doing the wrap. So these aren't particularly tight yet, but I want to get them as tight as I can. Just make one more here. It's a little challenging. Okay, so I've got a couple of tight weaves there. Weaves and wraps, whatever. So I'm going to take it over here. I'm just going to wrap it, I guess, around the bail. Yes, that's called the bail. And back these up a little bit. I'm going to start doing the wrap, and you want your wires fairly close together. So this wrap is going to be 2 around both wires, and then 2 around, I'm actually thinking, even though those first ones I started are on the outside, I think I'm going to do the 2 that are on the one wire, I'm going to do on the inside. So we'll just not notice that other one later. Okay, and then 2 around the outside. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. 2 in between. You want to go in between the 2 to get the 2 on the bottom. And then 2 around on the top and the bottom, and making sure you're not overlapping, and go in between 1 and 2, 3 and 2, and then I'm going to speed this up or actually cut it off, and I'll come back when I'm up to here. Okay, all right, bye. Okay, I am back. I have not finished this all the way, and the reason for that is that I really want to see. I looked at my picture of the one I made before, and I realized that I had used these other 2 wires. So I'm going to have to go this way. I was going to go this way, but I'm going to go over this way. And I want to make sure that I have enough length to do what I'm hoping to do. So I'm going to bring this like that, and then I'm going to just give this little snaky guy a curl. Okay. That might be not close enough. I think I want to make this curl a little bit closer. So, and you have to kind of straighten out so your snake is facing front And this is not the easy part, because once it's all wrapped, it doesn't look quite the same. I mean, it doesn't move quite the same. Yeah, there are my words going away again. So I'm going to do the best I can to try to manipulate this, and I'm going to have to use pliers here because it is just too hard to try to do it with just your hands. But try and keep moving it about until I can get it to where I can try to get another bend in it and make sort of a circle. All right, let's see. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to have to wrap some more. And I'll probably just cut that off, but I wanted you to see what I'm doing here. I may even move this coil up a little bit more if I can, because I'm never happy with what I'm doing. You have to widen it out and then move it again. This is, hopefully you can see that. And I want to have a little bit of a curve on there. And again, it gets a little bit difficult. So, okay, so got that. I'm going to bring that down and then probably give Mr. Snake a little, Mr. or Miss Snake, I don't know, a little bit more of a curve again, a second one, because this is a bigger stone too than the last one I used. So I'm going to finish this down to at least here. And then I will come back and I will do that next wrap, and then we'll end it with a head. All right, so I'll finish that off and I'll be back. I was trying to do something and then realized I wasn't filming it. So I'm basically, I think you saw me do this one coil. And now I've kind of bent it like this, and I'm going to do one more coil, I think, because it's a pretty long stone, so we need a long snake. And this coil might be a little bit smaller. And if you coil, if it's bent, just straighten it out like that. So I'm going to have to finish this out, and I'm going to leave maybe about that much now, maybe a little less. This will be this one's longer. So hopefully you'll have, you could use 15 inches if you have a really long stone. I would just use the amount of wire that you need for the size of your stone. I'm just going to try and do this, and then we're going to bring it down here and finish it off with a little head right there. And hopefully that'll look like a snake. And then I'm going to try to add something up here. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish this off, and then I will come back to do the head. Okay. Now for the hard part, because I haven't done a head before. I think I want to go ahead and wrap it around. I ended with 2 wraps on one wire, and I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap 2 wraps on the other wire just to kind of even that out instead of doing 2 on 2. It's not going to be quite even, but, and then I am going to pull that tight, and I'm going to cut that off there, hopefully. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that wire, because I'm going to try to make the head. We'll see. Hopefully I can make a head. Think about how a snake head looks, and I think it should be something like a sharp point, like a diamond, if we're going for poisonous snakes. Hopefully you guys aren't freaked out by snakes. I don't have, an issue with them as long as they leave me alone. There are some snakes that are poisonous, and there are some snakes like black snakes. Black rat snakes are actually really good for the environment. They take care of rodents, so give them a break. They're actually pretty cool creatures if you think about it. Okay, I'm going to take this off too, because that doesn't need to be there anymore. And it's glaringly obvious that it's sticking out. And then we'll tuck that under. I might just, because that wire's looking pretty ratty now, I might just do this. And I may have to find a different way to secure the head. Sorry, little snake, I have cut your head off. And we don't really want to do that. What I think I'll do is I will cut this off, and I'm going to just curve that in so it won't scratch anybody. And then the head, I may have to use some half round wire for that. Okay, I'm not sure exactly where I was before, but I sat down and had lunch and I thought about it, and I have realized, excuse me, I have to reach some pliers here, that there was a way I can make this pointy, and I don't know why I didn't think of it before. Could be wrong, but I think that if I just kind of bend this down as if it were a V shape, I'm not sure if you, hopefully you saw it. So see, I did make it a little bit pointy. It might still be too long for the head, but at least I know how to do that now. So I don't know, that might be okay. So the thing to do, of course, is to make sure that it's going to be secure. I think that kind of looks cool. I think that looks more like a head. What I think I'm going to do though, just to secure this a little bit, is to take some half round and just wrap it around the end of the snake and the head to try to keep all that secure in one place, so that the head doesn't come off of the snake, so to speak. I'm not going to go too far down because we don't want to mess with the wraps, but I'm just going to try to get this around here, get that over that other end I put in there, and just wrap it a few times, and that should make it so that the head piece will not come apart, and hopefully that'll give it a little bit of a cool look. We'll see. Just going to tighten that up a bit. And then I guess I'm going to push this up, and then I'm going to cut it, and I'll just tuck that little bit into the head, and then I'll be done with that. Okay, that does help. I'm going to bend this up a little bit. It'll make it easier for me. I don't know if it'll make it easier for you to see it, but it will make it easier for me. All right, just a couple of wraps there to get that other end covered up so that it's not sticking out. Squish that down really good. Now, it's going to snip that a little bit and tuck it under. So there's just a little bit of an end there, and I'm just going to snip that, tuck that in, and there we go. There we go. We've got our little snake and snake head. And I'm gonna, actually could leave it like that. It'll look like the snake's trying to get up off of the off of the piece, but that probably wouldn't be good. So we're gonna just put that down. I started to do is put some half round in here. I'm gonna attach this to make sure that that's secure, and I'll just do that. So I put the half round through to the back, and then this little piece I'll just attach to this one wire. You might need some tweezers or something like a file to just grab your wire up and push it, because it's too hard to get the tweezers in there. Okay, and I'll just do like one more wrap around there. I'll snip that off and then I'll tuck it under. So that's got a couple of wraps there, and just tuck that under. And then I've got this back here. I'm gonna clip some of this off because I don't need all that much. And that's done. Now, our snake is nice and secure, except for here where I may just take one little bit of this half round. So we're gonna grab that, put that through the head. Wish I could make it look like a tongue, but like a little tongue sticking out like you'd normally see in one of these reptiles. Is up there? Yeah, reptile. If you see a black rat snake, thank it for its service because they are really good at making sure you don't have rats. That's why it's called a black rat snake. And while they look a little scary, they're really very harmless. And we found one on our deck one time and just put him in a box and took him to the woods because I really didn't want him jumping out at me on the deck when I went out there. But he was friendly enough. We're walking down to the creek and my husband had him in a shoebox, and all of a sudden I'm behind him and I see the shoebox start to, the lid start to lift up, and my husband didn't realize it, but the snake was like poking his little head out trying to see, you know, where are you going? Where are we going? Where are you taking me? So, you know, they're curious and friendly. Didn't try to bite anybody, so just keep that in mind. If you don't like snakes, think about what kind of snake it is. Find out what kind of snake it is before you go and do it. Please don't do it any harm. Try to be nice to, you know, all God's creatures. Okay, even if you don't like them, they have a purpose. I don't know about mosquitoes. I don't think they have a purpose, except to annoy us. But that's what little siblings are for too, right? There's the snake part. I'm gonna have to figure this one out too. I definitely don't need all this wire, so I'm gonna snip at least half of it off. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a little weave. Probably just go just up to maybe here, and then I'll curl them over. So I'm gonna go under here. I'm using the 26 gauge wire again. So you might want to have a spool to make sure you have plenty of 26 gauge wire, because the last thing you want is to have your snake only half done and not be able to finish it because you run out of wire. That's no fun. I'll just do 2 wraps if I can. Okay, we hope this is going to turn out well. And I will be, before I post the video, I will be oxidizing this guy. That'll give him and his little body, him or her, a darker look anyway. So, okay, I'm going to go down. Gotta straighten this out a bit. Try to go down as low as possible. And I'm going to just hold on to that. I will be cutting it off at some point, but I think, oh, look at that. I only have 1. I thought I had 2 wraps. Okay, I'm going to go in here and do 1 more wrap there. And then I'm going to go around and just twice. Okay, so yeah, so that'll hopefully look like the snake is coming back up here. And if I have to fill in some wraps down at the bottom, I've got just enough wire for that at the end. Okay, I'm going to just wrap this, and I'm going to try to wrap this tightly. So we've got 2 wraps there. Hope you guys have a good Memorial weekend planned. I am doing this on Memorial Friday, Friday before Memorial Day, whatever I'm trying to say. And I don't really have any plans except to relax because I've been working myself insane lately. And I'm going to work in my garden. I'm going to try to move my petunias so that they can breathe, because they're all on top of each other. And then I'm going to move some salvia, and I'm going to move some impatiens. They're all coming up at the same time, I think, because of this weird wacky weather. So they need some room to grow, and hopefully they won't get overheated in some crazy unseasonable hot weather next week. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know in Maryland. So we shall see. I don't think I wanted to do much more there, so I think, because I don't want to get all over the top of the bale too much. I think I will do the same thing where I'll go to this side and I'll just try to make these wraps a little bit even. I don't know about the rest of you, but it looks pretty good to me. I'm actually going to fill this in a little bit because I can see a gap down here that we don't need. Got it? I hope you can see this. I'm looking at this and not the camera. So yeah, I'm going to just make a couple of wraps here so this will have some continuity and it won't look like the snake lost part of its scales or something. I may have to move this away some to get under there. And it's okay to move things out of the way sometimes, as long as you know you can move them back without distorting everything too badly. I think I got it under just enough to tuck it, so these guys, I'm going to put these back where they were, hopefully. I'm going to actually try to squish them down good. I'm going to try to find a suitable pair of tiny little beads for eyes, and I'll be back. Per usual, my brain is dead. I was thinking eyes up here, but this is going to be the tail. So this is actually the head, and it's too small. I don't have beads that will make 2, but I think I will just put 1 bead right there just to give this little bit of shimmer there. So I've put a piece of 26 gauge wire in here, and it's a little smaller than the half round, so it'll be better. So I'm just going to try to do like 1 more wrap around the head. I might take the wrap out and do it the opposite direction because I want this closer to the front of the head than instead of back, and the wire wraps will make it push back. So you always have to think when you're wrapping something around like a bead or whatever, think about the direction you want your wire to go, because if it's going the wrong direction, that might take up space that you needed in another direction. So if that makes sense, which I hope it does, but so I'm going to go in the back behind the bead, and okay, that'll be better, hopefully. The bead will look more like it's in the position you want it to be in. So I've got that nicely snugly wrapped. I'm gonna go down here. I'm trying to get it as centered in the head as possible. That bead kind of just fits in the head, if you can see it. And I'm actually going to try and do this without the bead there and then come back, because that'll make it easier. So what you're seeing when you watch these videos of mine, I think, is you're seeing not just the process of making it, but hopefully you're getting an idea of how the creative juices flow to figure things out, because I don't often figure anything out until I'm already in the middle of it. And I'm sorry if that's taking up too much time, because I know it's not like it's a pre-planned thing, but I will cut a lot of the garbage out of this video for you. I think what I've got here, I think it might be just a little bit too wide, but it's okay. You don't want anything to be loose. All right, get that one nice and snug again. And I want to push that down a bit to be even with this. Oops. I'm going to try and squish this so it won't be moving anymore. And squish that down because that came out. All right, one last wrap in there, and I think that'll be done. And the bit for the tail should be pretty easy compared to this. I'm going to try to make a hook so I can get that to come up. There. Yay! Yes, I'm like a child. All right. All right, and then I think I will cut that off and tuck it under, and hopefully we will be good to go. Okay, there we go. Tucked under, nice and tight. And actually, I'm going to try to tighten this. So this is why you should have tweezers as well as tweezer nose pliers, because sometimes you have something so tight that your pliers can't get in there, but your your tweezers can get in there. So now let's just try and push this head out a little bit, so it's not so hidden. Squish those guys together. That was an ordeal, but I think I got the result that I wanted. Last thing, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut some of these ends off. Little curls on the ends. If I was smart, I wouldn't have cut them flush like that. So I'm just going to cut a little bit more, because I want to have like a little point to make the curl. And I'll use my round nose pliers for that. And then I might tie this to here to keep it secure. So you get the very tip, the very end, and just grip that over. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I think that might be a little bit long. All right, and then just do the same thing there. And that's really it. Just making sure that they're there. And hang on, I'm going to get my hammer and show you. Pull this out gently. And I'm going to put these down, and then nothing major, just to get them a little flat and to harden them so they're not gonna, so the loops aren't gonna come open. And I'm just gonna close them a little bit more. Okay, now that I've done that, nice and secure, I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'll go right through one of the loops there. Okay. I was so ridiculously close to finishing when I realized that my phone battery had died. I think I actually gotten to this point where I basically wrapped it through the holes and then I wrapped it around the back. And all I'm really going to do beyond this, because I was really, really close to the end, was just wrap this in between the bail and the snake, basically, because that way it'll be really, really secure under there. Just try and get that nice and tight one more time, just for double safety's sake. And then I think that'll be pretty much it. And like I said, I will oxidize this before I post the video and have a photo of that for you at the end. I think these little snaky things are a little bit big. I'm going to just snip them off. Actually, I'm going to snip them off not flush because I want to make them a little bit tinier. Just a wee bit tinier. Take my pliers and just kind of squish them in. Okay, so they don't look like they're completely hanging out there. So I hope this is, I'm trying to check that out. The light, I want you to be able to see it without so much glare. So I hope that looks like a snake to you. Maybe this isn't quite as snaky as I'd like it to be, but. And you can just futz around with it all you want and change it and make it look different. And I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to see if I can get this out. All right, thank you so much and have a great Memorial weekend, even though it might be over by the time you view this. Take care. Bye-bye.